You're not choosing that toxic person because you actually want to be with them. You're chasing it because it's familiar to whatever kind of love you received when you were a child. Let's talk about it. A lot of people find themselves in toxic situations, or friendships, relationships, whatever it is, and it's hard for them because logically they know, like, this is not what I want to receive. Like, I know that they're not meeting my needs, they're not meeting me where I'm at. Why am I continuously choosing this over and over again? And it feels wrong because it's not logically making sense, but yet it's almost like an addiction where you continue to choose it and you're craving it almost, and it's hard to leave the cycle until something usually bad happens and there's usually a large falling out. And the reason this is because you are not enjoying the pain that this is creating of the inconsistency. It's not that. It's usually because you were modeled inconsistent love when you were a child from your parents, your caregivers, whoever that was. And when you see this person who is toxic and not giving you the consistency that you deserve, it feels familiar to you. It feels like the love that you received first, your first idea of love. And because of that, you're creating that dynamic where you're chasing that because it feels like what you know. And we all crave what we know because we're human and we crave comfort. And for us, unfortunately, the comfort is in something that is an unhealthy cycle that allows us to settle for less than we deserve. And when we see that familiarity play out, we find ourselves, our little child self within us comes out and they're craving that love. They seek it, they go for it, and they don't know better because they are modeling and trying to close out the cycle of whatever love they didn't receive because they were emotionally unavailable parents or inconsistent love that was modeled to them. Whatever that was, now we chase the familiarity of it and we want to almost like seal the deal and find out how we can get that love that we didn't receive when we were a child. So a lot of times in toxic relationships, your inner child self who never received that consistent love, that validation, that care that they needed comes out. So that's why it feels like you're not able to act logically, rationally, because the little child inside of you who didn't get their needs met is coming out and they're like, oh my gosh, finally, I can get it in this person because the dynamic feels familiar. But in reality, you're just continuing to repeat the same patterns over and over again until you recognize this. And ironically, that other person who's also being toxic to you is going through their own childhood traumas. Their own inner child is coming out and being triggered by the situation because they also received inconsistent love or not a secure love growing up. So they're constantly running because they don't know how to hold love when they receive it because they know that it can be taken away at any time or that it's only shown when they're performing in a certain way. So they have to be always on and they're afraid of being abandoned by the love. So then they choose to run away from it instead because they've taught themselves that, oh, I can't rely on anyone because they always leave or because the love can be taken away at any time. So they've learned to come inwards and only rely on themselves. So whatever it is, when you observe these toxic situations as you grow to become an adult, it's interesting because it's really just triggering the little child inside all of us who didn't receive that love, that constant validation, that need for security that all of us inherently need and want. And until you recognize that you're repeating the same patterns that you observed from childhood and you're continuing to choose toxic situations because you are searching externally for the love and the security and the safety that you needed when you were a kid, you will continue to repeat the same patterns over and over and over again. And the key is that you were never meant to look outside of yourself for this sense of security. When you're a little kid, sure, everyone deserves secure, emotionally available parents who can hold them and give them safety, but the reality is that most parents are being parents for the first time and they can't do that. And a lot of us have this wounded inner child within us that we grow up with and never meet their needs. And then as adults, we continue to search externally for it in our partner, in friends, whoever it is, and we end up creating these toxic cycles again and again because we are triggering each other's inner childs. And the key is that you were always meant to give yourself that love, that external validation, all of that. You were meant to give it to yourself. You were meant to give yourself that security, that safety, that love, and coming back to your inner child, creating a safe space where you feel good in yourself is the key. You will never find the peace, the love that you're searching for outside of you. You have to give it to yourself first, otherwise you'll be searching forever. And you deserve to feel loved and whole, and I promise you it's always been within you.